Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Montalvo. I'm a teacher in Yonkers Public Schools. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Hernandez here, one of our great school psychologists. Let him share a little bit about himself, and then we'll go over some resources. Hey,
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Montalvo. Like he said, I'm Mr. Hernandez. I'm the school psychologist at Martha King Academy. And we just, been working on our own to try and provide you guys with as many services and support as we can. So that's what this video is for, just to kind of show you what we'll be able to find for you and how we can support you while not, physically being there to support you.
Yeah, and so Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Proya have compiled a great list of resources. We're just going to go over a few of them, and then in addition to that, we're going to link a resource list kind of in categories, just so that you can go back and in addition to watching this video, have those links in front of you in addition to some phone numbers as well. So I'll let you take over, Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, sure. So the first thing that Mr. Montalvo has here up on his computer is Mind Valley. And I think Mind Valley is a great resource, especially for you parents out there, because they've been doing parent training on a wide variety of skills in terms of, anxiety, managing stress, how to change your routine at home. The great thing about this is that it's a free resource where it used to be charged, and due to the crisis, they've said, okay, we're going to take that away. We're going to make it free for everybody. You just have to go onto the website, and they give you, people and times that they're hosting these webinars, and they're professional psychologists who have done research and are well familiar with these topics. And they mentioned the topics here. So if you look down on the website, some of them are, conscious parenting and co-parenting, or, rising above household overwhelmingness and how to, manage all these situations. So I know that everybody has different things they're struggling with. So, maybe finding a webinar that applies to you would be really helpful. I'd say try and, find them as soon as possible, because they limit them to 20 people per session, because they really want, it to be interactive, so you're getting the most out of this experience. So check that out. I think it'd be really great for you as a parent if you're feeling like you're not sure how to handle everything that's going on at home, which I'm sure a lot of people are struggling with right now.
Great. And so these are just like live calls that they can jump on.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep. And each one posts the date and the time they'll be hosting it, and you just have to register for it. They ask that you show up a couple minutes early because the spots fill up very quickly, because, a lot of people are having a lot of questions. And being able to have direct access to a professional like this is, a great opportunity.
Great. So
all right.
Here?
So we're going to move on now to, this is the Child Mind Organization, I believe you're on, Mr. Montalvo. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Child Mind Organization, separate from just this resource that he's showing you, is they're a great organization that works with specifically autism sometimes, but also support other children as well, especially with ADHD and other, behavioral issues. And they just have a little resource on their website where it kind of gives you an idea of how to manage some of these difficult behaviors. So I know that as a parent, sometimes you have, you get to go to work during the day. You're not, around children all day, so you don't get to see them in their entirety sometimes. But sometimes, as, clinicians or teachers, we see them having to sit in a classroom all day, and certain behaviors might arise because of that. So, this kind of gives you support on how to deal with that, a little bit on how to manage some behaviors, how to deal with, maybe some toxic stress that's going on, how to manage ADHD-like symptoms, how to deal with hyperactivity, anxiety, a lot of different issues they have. And if you go past this webpage Ms. Montalvo has up, they have so many resources before this crisis that deals with a lot of the issues that any children might have at home. So I think this is great if you don't want to necessarily interact with professional, but you still want information from professional. You can access this any time of the day. You don't have to sign up for it. There's no face-to-face video conferencing, anything like that. It's just information that's at your fingertips, that's very informative, and of course done by professionals.
I see something here about telehealth services as well.
Yes, so they offer telehealth services, which is actually something that we also have from our local agency. So that's why I didn't want to go too much into that here, because I think it'd be better to support our local families with local people who they can follow up with in person after this is all over. So you have a relationship being built.
That's
but again, if you want that, and maybe if local services are capped, this is another place to find some telehealth treatment.
Great. And so I have something from the CDC here.
Yes. So let me just pull it up on my computer as well. So the CDC. So this one, this resource is more for how to communicate with children concerning what's going on, because I know that we want to be able to express what's going on to a child if they have any questions, but there are certain ways to approach that are, considered, the best, because it minimizes the anxiety that comes about from the child having to deal with this. So this kind of gives you some basic guidelines on how to have that conversation if you haven't had it yet, or, if a child is still curious about what's going on. It kind of teaches you how to manage what's going on from a, perspective of minimizing your exposure, but also how to deal with some of the conversations that will come about regarding this. Because, I think it also gives good resources in terms of how you can discuss it from a smaller child's perspective to a larger, older child, which is very beneficial because, like I said, we're dealing with, you families have many children, I'm sure. Being able to maneuver that conversation in different situations might be difficult, but this could give you some basic support in dealing with that. And of course, it's from the CDC, so it's very trusted information.
And even just some talking points as well.
Yes, exactly. And the one website that's going to be a link to, it's only one page about talking with children, but the CDC also has websites on, checklists for the household, things you should be doing on a daily basis. If you are sick, what you can do, people who might be at risk, like, of course, any information you might need on what's going on specific to COVID and talking about it and what it looks like, everything is on this website. It's the first place you should go if you're curious about what's going on.
Great. And that's interesting because most times when people think of CDC, they might think of this is where you go when you're sick, as opposed to all this preventative information.
Exactly. So it kind of covers you before, during, and after all the phases of, what's going on with the disease.
Awesome. And then the National Child Traumatic Stress Network.
The National Child, sorry, I just closed out my thing. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm going to have to look through your computer because I'm not going to get it in this quick second. So this one is a similar thing as well to the CDC one, where it's, helping, the families maneuver what's going on. But I think this is a little less of the strictly health perspective. I think this one combines more of, the mental health with the physical health perspective. So it's similar to the CDC, but it offers, that other aspect of it that's just not the physically based piece of it. And I'm gonna get more in 1 second.
Yeah. And there seems to be some downloadable fact sheets here.
Yes.
As well. The option.
Okay, I'm back. Here we go. Okay. So this one, let me scroll down a little bit more. Yep. So this one was also, I think what's good is released in 2019. So they already were preparing some of this information, something that's been gathered over a period of time, which I think is different from what the CDC offers, where the CDC is a more 2020 based current information. So I would say that this one is good because it shows the historical perspective over time, right? So we saw in 2019, we hadn't gotten hit with the full impact of everything, right? It was still kind of grumblings, we're not sure what was going on. But as the website itself is the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, this is, coming from, we're perceiving stress is about to happen. It's a traumatic experience. How can we prepare families for this? So this takes almost like a trauma-based approach to dealing with this. So this might be for, a family or individuals who are having, a very negative, obviously a lot of people are having a negative experience, but something that may be traumatic to them, and how to manage that traumatic experience in the best way is what this resource basically is for. So it's less about the health piece and more about the mental health piece.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And nationwide children's.
Yes. Nationwide Children Organization. So this one, when it opens on my computer, there we go. So this one also is another family resource similar to the other two. So we're kind of getting some overlap. But I think this one is more of a layman's terms, where the CDC is a lot of information. This kind of tries to package it up a little bit, so it's more concise. So it might not be, as informative as the CDC website, but this one is just very basic. If maybe you have people who are struggling with a language barrier, who need information that can be disseminated very easily, I think this would be a better resource to access, because it's similar to the other two, but like I said, it's just straight here. This is what the information is. This is what you need to know, and it's just straight to the point. So a lot of these things are going to be similar because, we have so many people giving us information. It's just what populations this would best service the information. So I think this one would be more for, like I said, the people who might have a language barrier would benefit best from this one.
Okay. And then the Lexington Center for Recovery.
Okay, so now we're getting into, so the previous links were more towards information and getting, informed on what's going on. And now we're talking more with what is going on in terms of support. If you actually have a problem that's not specifically related to COVID, how can we support you? So the Lexington Center for Recovery is if you're, a family, a parent, a child even, if you know somebody or are somebody who's struggling with chemical dependency or addiction, especially because, you're locked in all day, you don't have access to a lot of things you normally have in your daily life, and you're struggling to kind of, cope with this, and you're turning to, drugs and alcohol and things that are becoming too much for you. This is a website that you can go to. There'll be a number for the place as well on the link afterwards, where you can contact them and they'll provide you with advice. Hopefully they have some telehealth as well in case you need that extra support. So yeah, if you need that resource, this is a great.
It seems like it services Westchester, Dutchess, and Rockland, so it's a good
yes,
read.
Exactly. And I'm sure they'll be doing telehealth as well, especially with a lot of people transitioning to that.
Yeah. And then My Sister's Place.
Yes. So My Sister's Place is centered around domestic violence and abuse. So if you are the witness to this, receiving this, or know about this going on, I would definitely go to this website. Again, we have the number for all these places on the link coming after. And it just basically offers, legal support, some counseling, some mentoring, even some skills training if you're, a victim of this, or, want to offer support to somebody who may be suffering from this. So I would say, this is something that I know is very sensitive, especially if you're a victim of, domestic abuse, and having to be in the same home as somebody. This can be very difficult for you to maneuver. So, if you could find, the peace and quiet to just find a place to contact these people, they can be the first line for you to be that support, because they're trained to deal with issues like this. And I think that this is a big piece that a lot of us won't be able to see, because, a lot of people, I know that if you're going through this, you're going to feel hesitant going to strangers like myself or somebody else about this kind of information. But if you want to go to an expert, these people will be able to help you as best as they can. And I think that, the longer you wait, the problem's only going to get worse. So I recommend, calling them as soon as possible, reaching out on their website, and just trying to get as much help as you can if there's something that you're struggling with right now.
Okay. And then Westchester Office for Women.
Yes. So this is similar resource. If you have a similar issue, they provide counseling, legal support services for families, women who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking. So their, parameters are a little bit more wide. So they can offer a wider range support compared to My Sister's Place. But they offer very similar, if you're a woman, even struggling with, this one specifically for women, I believe, but if you're a victim of these kinds of things, and you're finding that you just need somebody to talk to, you need some kind of help, they are a comprehensive service. So they will go through, what's the issue? How can we support you? Can we financially help you? Do you have to go somewhere else? Can we take care of healthcare? Like, it's a really comprehensive service that I think anybody would benefit from if they reach out. And they also have a number for Spanish if you only speak in Spanish. So that's another great resource, especially if you're only a Spanish-speaking speaker. They have a separate number where they'll only have Spanish-speaking operators to converse with you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, and then homeless prevention.
Yes. So homeless prevention. Where are we? Okay. So is this the Bridge Fund or is this different?
Bridge. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Bridge Fund. Okay. So Bridge Fund, like you said, homeless prevention, eviction prevention. So if you're having issues where you're in danger of being evicted, danger of being homeless because of the crisis, there are a lot of protections in place right now for that population specifically. So definitely the bridgefund.org is fantastic, because they are knowledgeable about the current laws that are going on and the current topics that are being discussed, and how they can best support you if a landlord or somebody is trying to illegally kick you out because you're not paying rent, whatever the issue is, because they're supposed to be making special allowances for this time. And if they're not doing that, the Bridge Fund is right there to back you up and provide you with that legal advice that you might need if you're not knowledgeable on your own, because I know I wouldn't be. So, having that resource is definitely, I think, would take a lot of stress off of, a family's mind if this is what they're struggling with.
Okay, and social services, westchester.gov.
Yep. So similar concept is that they're providing assistance in terms of eviction prevention, but they go another thing that that the bridge does not provide that DSS would provide would be utility shut-off prevention assistance in case you're in danger of losing electricity, gas, light, things like that because you're not able to pay again. They might be able to work with you and say, this is what we can do to help you out. So they go a little bit further on that end, also in terms of food stamps, unemployment, a lot of those questions can be directed towards them and they'll be able to assist you. So I know that right now the government is facing a lot of issues with people on unemployment flooding the website. So a lot of crashes, it's really hard to get what you need right away. So maybe going through them, they might have a little easier time getting you on board with what you need in terms of food stamps. And like I said, keeping your utilities on.
So this is a good first stop before trying to get to.
Exactly. And then if they can't do to them, they'll direct you to somebody who can provide you with more specific in whatever area you're dealing with. Yeah.
Okay. The ARC, Westchester.
The ARC, yes. So they provide assistance every day, all day to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. So if you are a family who, has a child or an adult who has a developmental disability and you're struggling, this would be better to go to first because they specifically advocate for this population. So, DSS works with everybody, but this would work, specifically for those. So I think DSS would be more of a, first step, like Matavo said, general provider. But if you find yourself falling into specific categories like intellectually disabled, the arcwestchester.org would be a better source to go to because they have, specific information regarding what's going on right now, but also how it relates to that population of people, which would be extremely beneficial. And to piggyback off that, I think the next one you're going to mention is the Hawthorne Foundation, which might be the next link.
Yeah.
They do the exactly same thing, 24 hours, 365 days a week, intellectual developmental disabilities, and their families. So same exact concept, but you have two resources there. So if you find that one's not working out for you, you can try the other one or whatever one, can get you first. I think it'd be very beneficial because this population, I know it's very difficult to, find some resources for or to even access them on your own. So having this resource to help you would be amazing.
Okay. And then legal services.
Yep. So legal services of Hudson Valley. So like it says, legal services, but they specialize in free legal representation in non-criminal cases for low-income individuals. So I know it's a mouthpiece. I'm going to break that down step by step.
What does that include? Yeah.
Yes. So I think the first everybody heard and loves the word is free. So automatically off the bat, it's free. So it's a great service. No reason to not get it if you need it. The next part is it's for low-income individuals. So you'd have to, make sure that you qualify for that service for it to be free. But then the most important piece is for non-criminal cases. So it's not for somebody, got caught stealing. If things like that, it's not going to support you, right? But this is more for situations like, again, if you're, danger of being evicted or you have somebody not paying you as an employer, issues like this where you're not directly doing a crime, they can support you and, give you that advice at no cost to you, which I know is something very important right now. So I know definitely give them a contact if you're in need of some legal advice. Because they do free consultations as well. So if you just have a question, you need some advice.
And representation is also offered in multiple languages from what I see.
Yes, exactly.
Spanish, Portuguese, Hindi, Haitian Creole.
Well, I don't know if we'll be needing all that with our populations, but it's always good to have it just in case. So that's fantastic. So so if you maybe you're not comfortable speaking in English, that's not a problem again. They'll have somebody able to communicate you in your language and they'll be able to take care of you.
Great. And we're almost wrapping up. So Westchester Disabled on the Move.
Yep. So this one, they advocate for people with disabilities again, but this one, they include people in completing applications, preparing for, rental interviews, negotiating with landlords, eviction prevention. So again, very similar to what we were mentioning before. But it also sounds like this is, again, another holistic approach, where some of them might only deal with one specific area. This one says we're going to cover you from, point A all the way to point Z. We got all this kind of wrapped up. So they're going to take you from the beginning. So let's say that you're, homeless right now and trying to get, housing. They'll start you off with, okay, we're preparing you. Okay, you have an interview. You have to go see this place. How can you best prepare for this? Let's help you with that. How do we get you, monetary support so you can actually pay for this when it happens? We'll help you with that. when you're in there, how do we keep you in there? How do we make sure the lights are on? How do we make sure you're not being threatened by a landlord? That, and the specific thing for this is that people with disabilities, right? So the other ones were for the general population, where we'll offer you the support. But this one says, okay, if you have documentation showing your disability, you have, intellectual disability, or you have, let's say, autism or whatever it is, we're there to support you. So I think that this goes a little bit beyond what we've had introduced before, because it's specific to the population with disabilities, which again is tough because there's so many supports out there for you, but there's so much noise out there as well that it becomes overwhelming. So this service kind of helps cut through the noise and gives you the best opportunities you have for yourself right there, because you're not kind of fighting for somebody, they're advocating for you, and they know the current best practices and the current, laws in regards to what's going on and how to get you most of what you need. So like I said, a lot of these services sound similar, but the difference is the comprehensiveness to some of the services they offer and the populations they're specifically trying to serve. So just remember to keep that in mind when you're reaching out for these services.
Awesome. And then Westchester Medical Center.
Oh, and everybody, I'm sure everybody's familiar with that one, but I think that Westchester Medical Center, the big thing I want to mention about them is that, if you have, it's not just something that you go to when you're sick, right? It's not something you go to when you're physically sick. If you have COVID and you feel like you're not feeling well, that's obviously an issue. But the big thing we want to talk about is mental health. If you feel like you're struggling with thoughts of, suicidal ideation, of self-injury, chemical dependency, anxiety, stress, and, mental breakdown, things like this, really extreme mental stressors, contacting them would be amazing, because they have psychiatrists on staff, psychologists on staff. They have people there 24/7, and they do telehealth. So you don't have to just contact them and say, I have a problem. You can schedule sessions with them every week. We also have WJCS in Yonkers. We have FSW in Yonkers. We have Andrus, which again will all be in the links that we provide later on. But they are all places, as well as Westchester Mental Center, that you can contact for telehealth. I've spoken with some of the practitioners there. They have openings. They really want people to sign up because they're available and they want to help, and they have the opening. So those services, that you do need health insurance for a lot of them as outpatient care, but just contact them and they're willing to work with you to figure out, if you don't have health insurance, how can we best support you to provide these services. So contact them, just try and get an idea, what the service offers, what it's going to look like, how your insurance matches up with them. I've worked with some of the professionals myself already. They're excellent with kids of all ages. They offer a lot of support in terms of, strategies that you can use at home to support them, what the kids can do to support themselves, and, how you guys can work together to create a more positive home environment. In my experience, they also do a lot of group sessions where, they can have one session a week where the parent and the kid are there. They can have this open conversation. So I know, I gave you a lot of information, but I think that, the most important for me is that everybody's mental health, is maintaining, strong. And I think that, it's easy to neglect self-care in this time and having to say, I want to take care of my kids, I have to take care of my family, but take care of yourself, because the more you give of yourself, the less you have for yourself. So, if you ever do feel like you're struggling mentally, there's a lot of resources out there that we'll be making available for you. And, don't feel afraid to call, because all it can do is help.
Yeah, definitely. And we're looking forward to putting together that resource list. Our school social worker, Ms. Proya, also helped to compile the resources that you submitted today, even though she couldn't make it. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hernandez, and for always being available to all of our students. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you share this out, because at a time like this, as Mr. Hernandez said, it's very easy to neglect our mental, our physical, our emotional health, but it is important. Yes, our academics are important, but this is a very important component of our day-to-day life. So we hope that this was valuable in some way, shape, or form. And thank you so much. Take care.
Yep. Have a good day.